INEOS have been making a lot of changes behind the scenes at Manchester United. They want to change how the club operates, recruitment, and lots of many aspects. We've been linked to a lot of young players at United. They look to be scouting and potentially bringing in some young players. But the interesting thing is no one really knows what's going on in the manager front. Is Ten Hag going to go? Is Ten Hag going to stay? There's a lot of rumours, a lot of reports, Southgate this, Southgate that. And I think a lot of that news is just fake. It's interaction bait. It's let's get clicks. It's the international bit. It's not much to talk about. Let's link Southgate. But it's looking like really INEOS don't have a plan to sack Ten Hag. They don't want to sack Ten Hag, but they're going to get the right operations in place. So if they do sack Ten Hag, Man United are in a good position. Like when Potter left Brighton, they could bring in De Zerbi because they'd had this long-term plan of the players they want to sign, the way they want to play, then they get another coach in to do that. And it looks like INEOS are following suit with that same plan. So I'm going to get into detail about what's sort of going on at INEOS right now, what I think is really smart about what they're doing. And then I want to talk about Kobbie Mainoo, talk about Garnacho, some news that's come out on them, which I think is really exciting from a Manchester United perspective, and some transfer news. So please do hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Let's get into the report by iPaper Sport. It was said that Surgeon Ratcliffe and INEOS are planning for Erik Ten Hag to be in charge at United next season, but are developing a strategy to be able to move quickly should they decide to replace him. They said poor results that would mean Man United missing out on Champions League football next season will work against Ten Hag. Insiders said, but as it stands, Ratcliffe and his right-hand man, Sir Dave Brailsford, have no plans to change the manager, which is good news. I've said it very many times on this channel. I don't want Ten Hag to be sacked. I want Ten Hag to be given one more season at Manchester United with good recruitment, with good people around him next season, particularly because I think he did so well in his first season and so well at Ajax that I believe there's a good manager there. I mean, Nagelsmann is playing great football, but and people say, should we replace him with Nagelsmann? But Ten Hag was playing great football at Ajax. He came to United, he couldn't play good football. How many managers played good football? Even Rangnick's philosophy was good, came to United, couldn't because of the personnel. When you look at the legs of Eriksen and Casemiro, they can't play the expansive football that Ten Hag wants to play. So when I look at the players, when I look at the injuries, when I look at what he did last season, what he did at Ajax, I really want Ten Hag to be given one more year under good recruitment at INEOS to just, I think personally, prove what he can do, because I think, you know, Mainoo, Delot, Garnacho, Højlund is some really success stories under Ten Hag, and he develops young players, and I like what he's doing with the academy. So I want him to be given time, and it looks like that's what INEOS' plan is. INEOS are very much like, you know what, let's not sack Ten Hag. There's so much to change at the end of the season, and we don't know this for sure, but Jim Ratcliffe made it clear that the environment at United was bad, and maybe INEOS will be like, the environment's really bad. We need to, get rid of a load of players. We need to get rid of a load of staff. We need to change recruitment. We need to change how we operate. There's so many changes to make that maybe changing the manager will be seen as one too many changes in the summer. But let's say we go into next season and 2 months into next season, things are not looking good and they need to sack the manager. INEOS sort of plan is to be in a place, but if they do sack the manager, we'll be in a better off position. So that will be the players that we sign in the summer will be players that are signed to play a certain way, and Ten Hag will be assigned to play a certain way. And if that doesn't work, they'll bring in another coach to do that. That's sort of what happened at Brighton. Graham Potter was told to play sort of this kind of way, and he kind of did it at Swansea, and the players were signed to play that way. De Zerbi's come in and played that kind of way. It's more about getting a head coach in rather than getting sort of a manager in. So it will be interesting to see if Ten Hag wants to sort of play a sort of certain way that INEOS sort of see the club going. And it'll be interesting to see if Ten Hag wants to give up sort of power in the transfer window. Maybe he could walk, but that's what we're going to talk about now. It was said making big calls without consulting the experts is not what Sir Dave Brailsford does. If anything, he asks for too many people's opinion. Delegating the right people is his thing. He's fully aware that Ashworth and Berardi know better than he does whether to decide what's right for Ten Hag, transforming how major decisions are made and what's really there. And I think what's interesting is I think Berardi and Ashworth will have the final say on what happens with Ten Hag. And I think ultimately Berardi and Ashworth are going to work on recruitment. Man United are going to establish a vision. We want to play, attacking football of youthful players, expansive football. That's where the Premier League is going. Can Ten Hag do that? Well, actually, he did quite well at Ajax. Maybe they'll say, let's give him a chance. We go into next season. It's not working. It's fine. We've brought the players to play this way. There's a coach available that can play this way. Sack Ten Hag, bring him in. I think that could be the case with Ashworth and Berardi. But as I said, I really want Ten Hag to be given time, another full season to prove himself, because I think the players are a bigger problem, the environment's a bigger problem, the board's a bigger problem, and I want to see what Ten Hag does under a fully competent board. Continuing on. It was said transfer responsibility will now be taken away from the United boss, regardless of whether it is Ten Hag or someone in the hot seat. Ashby's team will grow considerably in the coming months and will assume those duties in place. So essentially what's being said and what's being suggested is that Dan Ashworth will come into Manchester United and Barada will come in, but there's going to be a lot more people coming in, not just Wilcox, maybe Doogie Friedman, maybe a few more people in recruitment. Dan Ashworth brought a lot of people with him to Newcastle in terms of the academy, in terms of his teams, and those will be the people that will make the decision at the end of the day, and that the team will grow and the strategy will grow, and Manchester United will be putting in lots of long-term foundations. They're putting in this long-term strategy of what they're going to do with Ten Hag, potentially keep him, but sign players to play this way, so if we do sack him, we can go get a manager. And I think INEOS wanting to almost have a head coach rather than a manager these days, and the manager just being someone that coaches the football, and INEOS say, look, we're going to play this kind of football, we're going to recruit these kind of players, now we need the coach to do that, which is what Brighton do and a lot of other clubs do. I think could be quite smart, because if they do have to sack Ten Hag, it could be easier to bring in a replacement, as said. But I do think it'll be interesting that transfer responsibility is going to be taken away from Ten Hag, because I know that he said it's a condition for him when he joins a club that he gets control over transfers, and I think he'll have some level of say, but he's not going to get the control he got before. So it'll be interesting to see how Ten Hag feels about maybe having to change his play philosophy and having less control over transfers. And while I like Ten Hag, 55 million on Mount, 85 million on Anthony, I'm more than happy for you to leave that to the experts. Interestingly, though, Ten Hag could have options. It was said Ten Hag has other options, with one source adding a return to either Ajax or Bayern Munich could happen should he leave Old Trafford. But it's understood he's very keen to finish what he started in England. There is opportunities there if Ten Hag is sacked or if Ten Hag chooses to walk away from the job. But I think Ten Hag's one of those guys, he's not a quitter, he's not a fighter. He might not be happy that he's losing some levels of control at Manchester United, but I think he's the kind of guy to be like, I want to fight it out in England. I want to make Man United work. No manager post Alex Ferguson's made Man United work. I'm probably in the best position now that INEOS are coming in and actually implementing proper structures and proper people. I don't have to work with the clowns of Woodward and Judge and Murta and Arnold. Maybe I'll continue on. It was also said a few other things by other journalists in relation to this report that United are working under the assumption that Ten Hag will remain in charge next season, which is positive. However, it has said that Barada and Ashworth will make the decision. They're not in yet. So maybe they decide to sack him, it's different. But because the decision hasn't been made, they're working. Ten Hag will be here next summer. They're preparing for the summer. They're preparing for the transfer window, which is positive. And Pete Hall said that INEOS have no plans to sack Ten Hag this summer. They're waiting for Dan Ashworth's appointment. Him and Barada will make the decision. Lots of sources are saying that. And I think it's interesting because for the last month, we've had Romano and Ornstein saying no decision's been made on Ten Hag, but every other journalist saying it's likely he'll go, linking us to Southgate this, linking us to Southgate that. And then Romano and Ornstein stay clear, no decision's been made. And now all the other journalists are switching to agree with Ornstein and Romano, no decision's been made, no decision's been made. When the last month they keep telling us it's Southgate, he's sacked. I think for me, it's interesting to see how the journalists change their tune eventually and go with, I think, the crowd, if that's what I say. And that's why I only really trust Ornstein, Romano, Whitwell, and a few other sources of information. Now, I want to end the video talking about Carrington, talking about Southgate's comments on Kobbie Mainoo. But Kobbie Mainoo is in line to be handed his first England start after the Jordan Henderson was ruled out of Tuesday night's friendly against Belgium. I think he deserves to start because he's competing with Jordan Henderson and Conor Gallagher. He is competing with Jordan Henderson and Conor Gallagher. I'm not saying this because I'm a Man United fan. He is better. Fact. Garnacho will also start for Argentina against Costa Rica tomorrow. So it's mad to think that 2 years ago, I was talking about this Kobbie Mainoo and Garnacho kid in the academy, 16 years of age. And I was like, those kids are good. Those kids are talented. They stand out. Now they're representing England, starting for England, representing Argentina, starting for Argentina, and a regular stars. And you've got to say, like Carrington. And Southgate did speak about Kobbie Mainoo, and Southgate said this on Mainoo. He said, in terms of progress into our squad, he is benefiting because we are not as rich in resources in that area, but we are really happy to see how he's dealt with training, and we see things he can bring already. I am mindful that we have to look after him and make sure his development's at the right speed, but the opportunities are there. And I think that's Southgate basically saying, yeah, Henderson's injured. Gallagher ain't that good. We've got Rice, we've got Bellingham, but actually Mainoo's benefiting because he's playing in the one position we're quite weak, which is crazy that he was called up to the under-21s in the first place, because the one position England are weak is possession-based midfielders. And that's why I said that Curtis Jones, he's injured at the moment, could probably get called up for England as well on my second channel, because they're the only two midfielders that play regularly for their club that are English that can keep the ball. There's a few in the under-21s, but we don't have that in the first team, and I don't get this Phillips Henderson recession. Even Gallagher. Southgate said on Mainoo, I think sometimes with the really young ones, they are not even thinking about that. It's all flowing, and maybe then as you get a bit older, you start to think about it a bit more. When you get older, you cannot care less about it, you go again. But it's beautiful, innocent moment where he can just flow, and he's saying the opportunities will come, and there's a belief that he will start for England versus Belgium tomorrow, which will be brilliant. But anyway, people, thank you for watching today's video. Please do hit the like button on the way out. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Share the video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.